Good morning, Western Washington, and happy Friday. I'm Matthew Fab with Western Washington Weather, and today we're going to take a look at the forecast for the next few days as summer weather arrives in Western Washington, and we get some pretty hot temperatures across the area. So starting here with the satellite imagery, you can see we have some low clouds along the coast and in some of the North Cascades, and a lot of high clouds moving from north to south over the area. We'll have a mostly sunny day today, maybe some filtered sunshine at times with some of these high clouds moving through. Taking a look at our overall pattern here in the upper air forecast here, you're looking at 500 millibar heights, that's about 18,000 feet, and you can see this ridge start to push to the east as we go through this weekend. That's what's going to allow us to warm up as this ridge centers just north of us here over parts of British Columbia and over parts of Western Washington as well. Going into Sunday there, that's our hottest day. We remain warm on Monday, and we will start to cool down as we go into next week. However, all the way through Thursday of next week, we still have no precipitation in the forecast here, and you can see that this is through Wednesday night, and you can see a little bit, about 0.02 of an inch possible on the coast, and otherwise totally dry across Western Washington. So at least through Wednesday of next week, no rain. So that's something to keep in mind. It will be a pretty nice stretch for us across the area. Taking a look at high temperatures, this is the thing we really want to look at here. You can see today on the coast, you're looking at highs in the low to mid 60s, areas from Seattle northward in the low to mid 70s, and from Seattle southward, you're looking at highs in the upper 70s to low 80s, and in southwest Washington and the Portland metro area, you're looking at highs in the mid 80s. Taking a look at Saturday, we start to warm up quite a bit. You can see on the coast, highs in the mid 60s to low 70s, from Seattle northward, highs in the mid to upper 70s, some low 80s in the mountain valleys. And you can see from Seattle southward, you're looking at highs in the upper 70s to mid 80s. And then Portland area, or from Olympia down toward Portland, you're looking at highs in the mid to upper 80s, 88 showing up there in Portland and Vancouver. But take a look at Sunday. That is our hottest day. You can see on the coast, you're looking at highs in the mid 70s. From Seattle northward, you're looking at highs in the upper 70s to mid 80s. Some of these mountain valleys may reach the low 90s. And then take a look at from Seattle southward, you're looking at highs in the upper 80s to low 90s. So possibly 90 degrees in Tacoma and likely in Olympia. And then you can see from Olympia down toward Portland, highs in the low 90s, mid 90s possible in Portland, showing up at 95 there. We'll take a look at this zoomed in a little bit more in a minute here. And as we go into Monday, you can see we remain pretty warm. The coast cools back to the upper 60s. Areas from Seattle northward cool a little bit to the mid 70s to low 80s, but still near 90 in some of those mountain valleys, especially near Darrington. And then you can see from Seattle southward on Monday there, highs in the mid to upper 80s. Again, you can see 88 for places like Puyallup and Tacoma and Olympia there. And then from Olympia southward to Portland, highs in the upper 80s to low 90s. And then mid 90s possible around the Portland metro up to 94. And then also just a heads up on Monday, if you're going to be in eastern Washington, it's going to be a pretty hot day. You can see Pasco showing up there at 104 degrees, 102 in Yakima, 101 in Moses Lake, and 97 in Spokane, 98 in Ellensburg, 100 in Wenatchee. So a very hot day across eastern Washington on Monday, as well as the heat wave starts to move east. Then you can see as we go into the day Tuesday there, we cool down quite a bit. The coast back to the low to mid 60s, Seattle northward back to the mid to upper 70s, and Seattle southward back down to the upper 70s to low 80s, and down to the mid to upper 80s across the Portland metro. But we are looking at 3 to 4 straight days, 80 plus, across the Seattle metro area, and a couple days possibly pushing 90 degrees. So that's going to be something very interesting to watch. As we go into next week, we remain in the upper 60s to mid 70s, and again, not very much rain going into next week. So stay tuned for more on that over the next few days. Now zooming in here to take a look at highs on Sunday and Monday, those two hottest days, just across western Washington. So you can see again from approximately Seattle northward, you can see how west of I-5 you have those highs in the mid 70s to low 80s. But then east of I-5 and into some of these mountain valleys, you have highs in the mid 80s to near 90. And then taking a look at the metro area, you can see the Kitsap Peninsula in the mid 80s and Seattle itself showing up at 87. Going east into the foothills, you can see North Bend area there is going to be closer to 90. And then from Seattle southward there, you can see 90 in Tacoma, 89 in Puyallup. Some of these valleys like Puyallup and Auburn and stuff like that could reach the low 90s. You can see Shelton at 90, Olympia, and then from Olympia and Shelton southward down I-5 in the low 90s. So it's going to be a very hot day Sunday across the southern Puget Sound especially, but some areas near the water you can see there, such as right there in downtown Tacoma may only reach the low to mid 80s, possibly with some of that breeze off the water, but overall mid 80s to low 90s on Sunday for areas south of Seattle. And then on Monday, you can see pretty similar. We do cool down quite a bit for Seattle northward there. You can see highs in the mid 70s to low 80s. But then from Seattle southward, you can still see mid 80s for the Kitsap Peninsula, Shelton, and all that. And then from Seattle itself, which is showing up at 86, southward to Tacoma and Olympia, you're looking at highs between 86 and 90 again there on Monday, before we cool down significantly back to the upper 70s to low 80s on Tuesday. And then I thought this was just an interesting thing to look at here. This is temperature anomalies. You can see Sunday afternoon, you're looking at high temperatures that are going to be anywhere between 15 and 25 degrees above average across western Washington. So that's pretty interesting to take a look at here because, it is pretty early for such a heat wave here with those highs nearing 90 degrees. That doesn't happen too often at the beginning of June. So it's just interesting to see how that is, in some cases, 20 plus degrees above average. And then taking a look into mid-June here, we may start to have a pattern shift here with some below-average temperatures going into like June 11th to 15th. We'll see. And then maybe return to a little bit more precipitation. But again, take these with a grain of salt at times. These can change pretty quickly. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Be sure to subscribe here to Western Washington Weather on YouTube. I just reached 1,250 subscribers. I would love to see that continue growing as we go into the summer here, so be sure to subscribe and share these videos. And also follow me on Blue Sky, on Twitter, and the Western Washington Weather Facebook group. Be sure to stay safe out there in the heat. I will have another video soon, and I will talk to you all later.